Hi everyone, it's Essie and I'm here with a process video for a layout I did for the July Lottie Loves Papers Sketch Challenge in the Facebook group. Sketch was designed for us by Laura Rumble, and I am just going through and choosing the papers from the Cocoa Vanilla Studios Boys Rule collection pack, which that I want to use for my layout. I've got a pretty good idea what I'd like to do on my layout. I want to use half circles to recreate those scalloped strips that Laura has across her sketch. So I'm going ahead and cutting circles out of my papers. Now I've chosen the designs that I want to coordinate with my photograph. And I'm using that Creative Memories circle cutting tool, which I've had forever. And now I've cut the circles from all of the pattern papers that I wanted. I'm chopping them in half. Before I place the circles, I want to do a bit of mixed media smooshing on my background. So I'm using a colour swatch book that I put together myself that contains swatches of all the inks, dye inks, sprays, stickles on there, look. And it's really handy to help choose colours so I can see exactly what the colour is going to be on my paper. I've got a little plastic baggie there which I'm going to use to spray the ink on before adding a little bit of water and smooshing it onto my background. I'm using just normal basil white cardstock. I'm taking a bit of a gamble that it doesn't warp too much. I'm not using huge amounts of ink spray, and I'm not putting lots of water on. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it doesn't warp too much, doesn't buckle. It is doing a little bit, but I think I'm going to get away with it. So once I've smooshed that ink over, I'm going to do some splatters. I'm using Heidi Swap Colour Shine in teal and seafoam to do the smooshing background, and I'm adding splatters with navy, teal, and that's a Cosmic Shimmer spray as well I've got there. Just adding the splatters. I've added the splatters while the other ink is still wet, so you can see where the ink has fallen on the areas that's wet ink. It's kind of bleeding out a little bit, and I really like that effect. You can wait till it's dry, and then you get a clearer dot and sort of splatter, and it doesn't obviously bleed in. I've decided I like a frame round my layout, so I'm gutting the middle of this sheet of paper so I can use that bit later. And then taking my basil, and I'm going to slice it about a centimetre off those two edges, just to create a very thin frame. It just draws the eye in, and I like the way that it frames the layout. I've set that aside to dry though. I'm not going to stick it down until that dye ink is dry. Now I'm putting together the layers to go behind my photograph. I'm using that bit that I gutted from the middle of the paper. The papers I've chosen are Happy Go Lucky, Fun and Games, Expressionist, Entitled, and Good Times. And I'm just layering up. I just use a couple of layers. I don't want to cover up too much of my background, so I don't want my photograph and my layers to be too big. Now that background's dry, I'm going to stick that down to my frame, just with some adhesive around the edges. If the paper has warped a little bit, and you can see there that it has a little, what I sometimes do if it's annoying me too much is put a sheet of card across the back and stick it down, and that helps to smooth out your layout. So now I've taken my semicircles and I'm sticking them down in the horizontal lines across the page. I'm using my T ruler to help me get the lines straight. I'm not very good doing it by eye. I sometimes put things deliberately wonky just so that I don't have to get them straight. And that's that final line, final scalloped line down there. And I've now I'm placing my photo. My photo is actually on a piece of fun foam on top of those paper layers, just to give it a bit of extra dimension. And I've just decided I wanted an extra little semicircle on the end there. So now I can play around with my embellishments. I decided I wanted to use that one-of-a-kind sentiment for my title, so I'm sticking it on just a piece of the turquoise cardstock, and I'm going to just distress the edges with my scissors. I'm using ephemera and die cuts from the die cut ephemera pack, the miscellany pack. I use a flare button as well, and also some chipboard pieces. And I love that the chipboard pieces are individual and not stuck on a big old sheet, because they're much easier to use. They are not self-adhesive, but I still prefer that than trying to peel them off a sheet where you leave half the sticky on the sheet. They split and don't come off. So I'm really pleased that Coco Vanilla have done that this time with this collection. Just fiddling around with some more die cuts and ephemera to put in that top corner. I'm sorry that there's a glare on my video. I filmed this in the evening, but you'll see those details in that top corner at the end when there's a photograph of the layout at the end of the video, so you'll see that more clearly. I'm just starting to stick down some of the bits and pieces I've chosen. There's that lovely cute camera and that thumbs up, which is not unlike a certain social media Facebook likey. And there you see I'm using some of the chipboard pieces, using lots of the stars actually. This little lad is my great nephew, and he is now 12. So I am catching up with my photographs. I had quite a few years where I didn't do any scrapbooking. I concentrated, I was card making, dabbling with some art journaling, and other sort of crafts and crafts. So I had a bit of a break, I had a bit of a gap. And so I've got lots of photographs to catch up on, and actually I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying scrapping the older photographs, revisiting those memories. And yes, it's fun. So I don't feel pressured to try and catch up. I'm just doing it, and I dabble. I don't scrap in chronological order. I scrap the photographs that I feel like scrapping at the time. So these photographs are from 10 years ago, and the next one I do might be a current photo. Just applying the flare button there. I added some gel glue to the back of the flare, although it's got its little sticky pad. I think because I was trying to stick it over paper layers, it wasn't taking very well, so I just added some glue to help secure it. And then adding some more stars, creating a bit of a diagonal with the ephemera. Just want something else to go in that left hand section up the top there, and that's the one. Going to add a little arrow around the corner of that as well. That draws your eye to the photograph. And then the only thing left that I add now, after I fiddle around with some more stars, just popping a couple down in the corner there. And then I'm going to add a phrase up on the top right that says, "Here comes trouble," which is certainly still true now. Now he's nearly a grumpy teenager. And then I'm going to add some Nuvo drops. I was going to add a combination of the navy and green, but I sit and hold the green bottle and end up just using the navy ones. I love this colour. They dry much darker than they look in the bottle, a real deep navy. They're beautiful colour. And there I am done. I really hope you've enjoyed watching, and please go over to the Lottie Loves Paper Facebook page and join in the sketch challenge, or just browse the inspiration. Thank you for watching.